Welcome to the Sunshine State. Known for its bright colors, laid-back feel, and diverse residents, Florida is brimming with masterful homes situated on sun-kissed landscapes. Join us as we tour a textile designer's idyllic space, a historic coral rock home, a quintessential Palm Beach cottage, and a moody Coral Gables home. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Hi, I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles?
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. To access all of this exclusive content, simply click the Join button below to become a member today.
Hi, Homeworthy. It's Mally Skog. Sorry, I had to kick the door. It's got all jammed with the humidity. This is my Palm Beach house, and I'd love you to come in and take a look around. I'm Mally Skog. We are in Palm Beach, Florida, the wonderful bubble that every 60-something couple has ended up in recently. I don't like it. I adore it. It's just the strangest thing. I lived in Boston for many years and moved down here pre-COVID, and I just fell in love with this place. I don't know whether it's the warm sunshine or the greenery or the friendly people, the bike path, the beach walks. I mean, it's an ideal life for me. Oh, and the restaurants. Love the restaurants. I'm an interior designer. I have a small amount of good clients that I work with in the Cape and Boston, and a few projects down here. But my career has really veered off into being a fabric and wallpaper designer. And actually just being a designer, I love inventing new things. And as my own fabric and wallpaper designs progressed, people started noticing me, and I've also designed other things. I did a little furniture line for these young friends of mine, Dal, which was so incredible and so difficult. Designing furniture is so difficult, and ended up going to the Philippines and going to their factory. What I absolutely love is all the new adventures that come my way. Well, what happened was my poor hubby was just so bored of me complaining and being so gloomy about cold Boston winters that we came down and had a look for just a small house for holidays and weekends, and it was going to be my treat. This house is my treat, and I had made this list of everything that I thought would be just perfect, easy living, casual. I wanted to put all my South African things in it. I wanted to be able to have overnight guests, but keep everything very informal. And we walked into this house first. And unfortunately, I'm a Capricorn and my hubby is a Libran. So we walked in and it was just, staged pretty horribly. But it was everything that I wanted. And I was like, this is the one, I'll take it. and my hubby made me drag through 16 other houses, big ones, small ones, bits of land, and I knew we'd end up here. And basically, there was nothing that I really hated. I mean, I don't love all the tiles in the bathrooms, but, you know, as an interior designer, I think you realize there are bigger fish to fry. I mean, people get so stuck on small things. So I painted because I just love Pharaoh and ball paint. And so I just painted the whole house in nice non-builder's paint, changed the light fittings, and that was it. I mean, just moved in and put my footprint on it. This is the little entrance hall to my lovely bungalow house. The reason I bought the house and decided on the house, I just love the clean white tiles. I knew that I wanted a bench in here, and I found this cheap and cheerful one and put this amazing fabric on it, which has since been discontinued, and of course everyone asks me where it comes from. I love Vaughan. They are my favorite lights. And this little hall table I saw in London at Chelsea Harbour and had to have it. These are from whenever I do a launch or do a show house, I always keep the things that I buy because they're just little memories. This was from a little launch that I did for furniture. I love Yaya Kusama and always have, so I had to have some of her things. All the African baskets in this house have been bought in the tourist stores, which I spend my life in. Behind you are these incredible ceramic plates that I found this ceramicist that has this little shelf in this tourist store. He's so untrained, but I mean, they're just absolutely brilliant. And they're like, you know, $25 each, but I love them. This is Cherish, my friend Anna Brockway. That's my Christmas present from Anna Brockway, because who doesn't love green vase? And so this is my vibe that I was trying to put together. A little bit of vintage, a little bit of modern, and a little bit of Africa, which is what I am. Going through to the living room area. I like this setup because it's good for parties, because people can circulate and you can just put nibbles out on the table. I like to do really casual entertaining. Up here is my ode to Palm Beach, and I'd love to squeeze some more parrots in, but my husband's like, enough with the parrots already. I didn't want paintings on either side of the fireplace, so I found these incredible old Hollywood, whatever they are. They look like water lily things. The vintage chairs, well, antique chairs, are from Cherish, my friend Anna again. I love supporting my girlfriends and their enterprises. And these amazing embroidered things are actually beer can tops that I bought in Cape Town. And they were the first thing I bought for this house. And you know, it's interesting, I just heard Ken Folk speak, and he said he sees a movie in his brain of how things are going to be, and it's very irritating for the people around you, because I knew exactly what this house was going to look like, and I knew that when you walked in the door, those were going to be there on that wall. It's my only superpower I have, basically. I love this Brunswick. I love old textile styles. These are actually pillows that I designed. This is my interpretation of an ECAT. Thrown over the back of the sofa is a new kente cloth that I just picked up in South Africa. Now, this I know not everyone would do, with red and orange and yellow, but it looks perfect to my eye. Sorry. That one I had from a show house. This one I had made. This is from Lee Jofa. That fabric I designed for Stout. And, you know, I don't know why, but I like that one layer of color and pattern to just pull the whole room inside of itself with this quiet surround. It's my favorite kind of decorating. I must apologize, I haven't cleaned up this end of my table, even though I knew you guys were coming, because I'm mid-process of recoloring a new collection for Stout, and also I designed some things in South Africa. This is from a little pashmina that I bought at a pop-up, but this is what I'm so excited about. This kente cloth that I painted in South Africa is going to be one of my new wovens. I just need this mess around me just here so that I can sit down and choose an hour and just get into it. Again, I can't put my stuff away. Obsessed with shells, yes. Some I've picked up, some my friends give me that they've picked up, but it's just so hard when you walk past a beautiful shell on the beach. I can't not pick it up. These are wine coasters, housewarming presents, antiques from a friend. This I inherited from my mum, this little fat lady. This is, what's her name again? Do you remember? She's very famous Connecticut potter. Plants, and these were my, these hydrangeas were in my Valentine's flowers, and I can't throw them away. So, I mean, maybe they a little bit sort of meh, but I love them. So over in this crazy corner, I have been collecting antique textiles for a long time. In London, they have this amazing antiques fair in Battersea, and this one deal, I just absolutely love the colors in this ECAT, and so turned it into a picture. And these little palm trees are made in Cape Town by some African beaders. A friend of mine started this collaborative for them. I think it's called Boys on the Side of the Road. Anyway, I just think they're so sweet. And then, you know, supporting Amanda Lindroth, supporting Dunes and Duchess. Actually, this is a friend gave that to me, that Stacy Kunstl, who makes these beautiful candlesticks. So everything in my house, even though it looks so cluttered, is very meaningful. It's all meaningful to me. Going through to the kitchen, it's an obvious new build, plain white kitchen. Not that spectacular, but I mean, I probably would have put a white kitchen in anyway, and the countertops are quite nice. I absolutely hated the backsplash, but it's amazing how you just get used to things, and also I couldn't be bothered with all that mess. So, you know, I've made peace with it. And it's very functional, and we eat a lot at this counter. And then round this way is, it's easy to get outside for having breakfast on that little round table. These sofas were the only thing that I kept from the staging, the real estate staging. They were just exactly the right size. They're actually just junk, but you know what? It's fine. I recovered them and just filled them with pillows that I love. This is my fabric, actually one of my most popular fabrics, Flora. And then I love buying these African fabrics. You can buy them in Chelsea Market, what's it called? Chelsea Flea. My daughter and I go shopping there, and there's this East African guy, and I'm always, look at me, I'm always buying textiles from him. And he's just so sweet, and they make great pillows. So I just wanted to keep this side of the house easy breezy. I love these from Made Goods. And then always with my little vintage pieces. I don't know if you have ever been to the Elephant's Foot, but it is this antique shop, old-fashioned antique shop on South Dixie, where they have a whole bunch of brown furniture. I just love it, and I found that footbath in there. I love the ceilings. I like the fact that it is a blank canvas. It doesn't really say anything if you take all of my stuff out of it. It's just got this very easy breezy, casual atmosphere. What do you think? And it's bright. And it's not stodgy at all. I mean, because Palm Beach can be very formal, and I think people see the clipped hedges and everything, and they think that life in Palm Beach is pretty formal and the entertaining is formal, but I just love that this house hasn't got that atmosphere, that you can just, when I have parties, people are just all over the place and, you know, just put all the wine out on the patio outside. I like that just relaxed living. Let's just have a little look outside here. One of the reasons I just love this house was this deep loggia, and you can fit a lot of furniture in it. We have breakfast out here, and really when it's hot and stuffy, we just put on the fans. And not all of these are indoor-outdoor pillows. These are Fanny Shorter. I absolutely love her fabrics, and they're faded, and I don't mind that they're faded. But anyway, this is just a good place to sit in the morning, read the paper, and I'm sorry it's a bit of a gloomy day today, but normally the pool is just a little sparkling pool in the middle of our garden. Now I'm going to show you the grown-up part of the house down here where we live, but just a quick stop at, I always say that this is exactly what the inside of my brain looks like. All my little collections that I've picked up in the antique stores and in South Africa over the years. I was just in Paris last week at the Decor off show, and I bought this I'm obsessed with jugs for putting flowers in, and I bought that in the Marché aux Puces on, it was the coldest I've ever been in my entire life. I also picked up this little cafe au lait, which you can't find them very easily. You know that the French used to have their coffee like that in the mornings in the old days. I don't know if they still do it. Africa, more jugs. I went through a stage of loving art glass. I'm sort of over it now. And I picked up, this is going to the framers. Isn't that the most beautiful little oil painting that I bought in this dusty little shop in Paris? So that's how I operate. If I see it and I love it, I go away, and then I go all the way around and then end up buying it. So come down here. South Africa, a sweet artist that I like, and then, his and her bathrooms, the secret to a happy marriage. Plus, look at the one I get. It's ginormous. And literally, the only thing I had to do was change the light fittings. I did those little Aaron ones in here. I think they look quite jolly. And unfortunately, you can see absolutely everything in that light. So this is our bedroom, which is very peaceful and calm. And actually, my husband was my client in here, and I know that he doesn't like a very busy bedroom. So, and these are his favorite colors, blue and yellow. So that was my little compromise for him, to have this nice, quiet, but I could still add some fun little touches. I love this bench made by my friend Stacy, Dunes and Duchess bench. Vaughan lamps, copied by everyone, but the Vaughan one is absolutely the nicest. And then behind you, Alex Mason, who is a friend of mine and a fabric designer. I bought those at one of her pop-up little things at in LA, and she actually prints my wallpaper. So I have all these lovely women enterprise network connections that I just love that about our community in our industry. These are from South Africa. You used to be able to pick up these sea urchins when I was young. They were just scattered all over the beach. I bought those in a shop in South Africa, and they're very brittle. I don't know how long they're going to last, but they just remind me of my childhood. I didn't actually pick up every single one of those, I have to admit. I think one of the most influential things for me was being born in South Africa and losing my dad when I was very young. My mum was very young. So I was in a very matriarchal household where we had to make do a lot. My mum was 32 years old when my dad died. So we were all team us. And so that has made me very fearless in life, because when you've had that happen to you, I mean, somebody's sofa coming in the wrong color is not a drama. So being in South Africa, having this pull together thing, that's the most valuable asset for me, because nothing really derails me. And people think it's my energy or whatever, but it's just the gift of living in a family like that, in the sunshine. I can make curtains, I can cook, I have been given this gift by the start in my life, to tell you the truth. Now we're going into this little bedroom that I turned into my office. Because it's my space, I have felt that I could go absolutely crazy with my fabric and wallpaper. I don't think a normal person would put my blue Brimfield wallpaper with these curtains. This pattern is called Emmy, and I designed it and named it after my mum. And when I showed her the strike off, she said, "Oh, well, actually, that's the nicest fabric that you've designed." So, she put that out there straight away. Anyway, this is where I work. And I do my email, but also it's my escape hatch. And I love to have a day bed in my office. So I can close this door and grab my little mohair rug, plug in a book, and no one is allowed to come beyond that door. I like to have a nice little nap in the afternoon, especially if I've had a busy week. And also, when the house is full, it's an extra bed for overflow guests. The dog absolutely loves her little doggy bed. When I designed my first collection for stout fabrics, they wanted me to buy some vintage pieces to cover. And I was on South Dixie and I saw this dog bed, went straight in my car. And I don't know how she knows, but she knows that it's hers. And when I come in here, she is there having a little rest as well, her day bed. I used to think needlepoint was cheesy, but it's so interesting how everything old is new again. And I'm very influenced by my daughters, especially my New York daughter, who is just the ultimate grand millennial. And she started loving needlepoint. And actually, I had done some needlepoint when I was pregnant with my kids, and I was going to chuck these pillows out, and she grabbed them. They're in her apartment in New York. So my friend who has a little online store let me choose, and that was my first favorite thing. And no one likes a shady beach. It was very appropriate for Palm Beach. Pamela Hoffmeister is an Instagram friend that has turned out to be such an amazing painter. She's so famous now. We made friends on Instagram years and years ago, and I love her interiors. I have a few of them in my house. More African fabrics from the guy at Chelsea Flea. And what else? I bought that painting in South Africa when I was coming back the other day, and I'm just haven't got round to going to the framers. So this is my daughter's room, the pink guest room, and I just absolutely love the headboard and this incredible fabric. I give this to my daughter because they're the naughty ones that smoke, the ones from London. So this is the smoking room. You can go up the side there. And the Peter Dunham headboard is just very, very jolly and fun. Some of my fabrics are scattered around, but I don't do too much of that. I love everyone's fabric, so it's fine. I just layer it all in. This little painting I bought in Wellfleet, and when I'm in Cape Cod, my favorite thing to do is get in my car with my daughter, and we just drive all over the place. And Wellfleet has got the most amazing little art galleries all along the main street. And you know what it's like when you're just walking along the road and you look through the window and you see a painting, and actually the guy was there painting another painting, so we chatted. That late afternoon light that just made that house glow, it touched me. So most of the things in my house have meaning. I don't like just buying things because they're the right color or the right size for a space. I think it's very important that you make it meaningful and right. And I think people can sense it when they're in your space. Home means that actually home can be anywhere. It's very interesting. When I go to South Africa and I go into my house in Plettenberg Bay, which I had not been in for 3 years, and I was very hesitant to go back, to tell you the honest truth, because my mum had died and I just didn't know if I needed that in my life, because I'm so happy in Palm Beach, and I just didn't know whether I should open that channel again and reconfuse myself. But anyway, my hubby said, just keep an open mind and let's just go out for the holidays. And I walked into my house in Plet, and I was so relieved because nobody had moved my stuff around. And even though people had stayed there and we'd lent it to friends, Where this basket is on that book is home to me. It's just this atmosphere that I like to create around myself, this nest. And it's probably from, having to figure life out for myself from the age of 11. So that is just precious to me, to just be in this atmosphere of what I have made and created for myself.
Each one of the things that's in my home has some kind of special meaning. It reminds me of a trip, or it reminds me of a person that I've loved. And I think that that's what a home should be. I don't feel comfortable in homes that are stark and have no personality. Sometimes people will say, well, do you think that maybe you do too much? And I think, yeah, sometimes it's clutter, but I love it.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi, I'm Cynthia. Welcome to our Coral Gables home. My name is Cynthia Hudson. I am the Senior Vice President and Managing Director of CNN en Español. We are in beautiful Coral Gables, Florida, which is a historic area, and this home is right on historic Coral Way. This is one of only 32 Coral Rock homes left in the Coral Gables and Miami area. And it was originally built by George Merrick, who was the founder of Coral Gables. And it was designed by H.G. Fink, who was his premier architect. And they used the natural stone of the region to start their original homes here before it was actually incorporated. So the house is now 100 years old, while Coral Gables actually is started in 1926. I find it interesting to be somebody like we call on the hyphen, where my father was born in the US, I was born in the US, but my mother was born in Cuba. And I think there's a really interesting moment where those cultures merge in people like me. So this is the entry foyer. It was originally a porch. And unfortunately, the owners, this home has only had 3 owners, at some point covered over the original coral rock with a plaster. And I was able to actually chip away at that plaster to create the beautiful rock wall. We raised the ceiling and did the beautiful beams. And we turned this into a foyer because we felt that the immediate access to the front yard needed a welcoming area to get to the rest of the house. So over here we have a settee that I bought, a beautiful federal style Duncan Fife. If you look at the legs, it's the perfect Duncan Fife little mini sofa, if you will. And I bought it 25 years ago from an antique shop owned by a friend of mine. And she called me about 10 years later to say, I think I found the matching pair. And so I went and bought the other one, and I'm just so thrilled. I think I always joke around with my family that these will be buried with me. And a painting that my father did. My father was an incredibly talented man, although he was a university professor. He loved to try new things, and he painted, and he was just, I think, a Renaissance man. So now we enter the living room, and the living room has the beautiful coral fireplace, and it's one of those grand rooms with the high ceilings, and we were able to really respect the architecture that was designed to create that sense of formality from the architect. When you have a large art collection and it's colorful, you want to make the room around it as neutral as possible so that it's not conflicting and competing with the art. And so I've tried to always keep palettes of either grays or beiges or off-whites. That way we can really bring the color through the art. So I have several favorites in my room, but I would say that one of the tops obviously is the portrait by Spanish artist Nati Cañada, who I worked with when I was at Cosmopolitan TV. And she did a series on historic women and was kind enough to say, I'm gonna be going through Miami. Do you want me to paint your portrait? And it was very expensive, but I thought it was a great investment. And it was most importantly dear to my heart because it's my daughters when they were young. and myself. And my husband at the time cried when he saw the painting finished. Unfortunately, a lot of beautiful art was left in Cuba by my grandfather and grandmother when they fled in 1960. But they did bring 2 pieces in their car when they took the ferry from Havana to Key West, thinking that they would someday go back. And the 2 pieces that they took were this beautiful painting of a Cuban landscape on board from the 19th century, in the 1800s, by Reynoso. His work is in the Museo of Cuban Art in Havana. And this painting by a Spanish impressionist whose last name is Llaverías, and it's depicting the port of Barcelona. And over here we have a beautiful fan that belonged to my great-grandmother, Victoria de la Vega y Sirven. And it's beautiful because it's all mother of pearl, and it's hand-painted. My mother always treasured it, and I treasure it too. I love to find things that mean something, that speak to me, and surround my home and the people that I love with things that I think evoke and create opportunity for you to reflect and create moments of memories. And so each one of the things that's in my home has some kind of special meaning. It reminds me of a trip, or it reminds me of a person that I've loved. So we walk into the formal dining room, and I love the shape. I had always had a long table, and here I was able to do a round table. And I think that round tables create just a beautiful moment for conversation when you're having a dinner party. And so I was able to combine it with antique chairs and do something fascinating with my furniture. But what I love is this piece. This is an antique Italian bookcase. And this bookcase is burl wood, which is so in now. But whoever said burl wood went out of style? And I just love the fact that I can keep some of my family heirlooms and collectibles in there without it being too showy. And at the same time, it's just such a grand piece. So this is the original kitchen area of the home, which we then expanded to add a large Florida room. And the great thing about this kitchen is that we were able to do it in a seamless manner, incorporating the original rock from the walls with the beams that were used to support the structure, which we clad in the same wood that was used for the beams on the ceiling. But what's special is the secret door to the basement below, which is a wine cellar. And I'll show you how we get there. So through the secret door, underneath the house, we came into basement space that was always here because the house is highly elevated, and we just finished it off into a wine cellar. And what we have is a piece that I love. It was an antique carousel horse, but it's by the same person who created the horses at Disney World. And so this is from the 1950s. This is my husband's sanctuary. We have our wine collection. We play dominoes. This is where you see the interesting combination. This is our domino table. And it's a fun place to watch movies. On a rainy day, it's especially comforting to be down here and just, hang out. And the painting behind me is not a painting, it's actually a collection of photographs that my husband took of antique doors from our honeymoon on the Danube. So on the way to the family quarters, we have 4 bedrooms on this side, plus an office over there. And it's interesting because this is basically a family sanctuary where I have portraits of my father, my mother, my daughters when they were little girls, and what used to be a window, which was the only way that historic would allow us to create the addition to our master suite. Here we enter the master area, our sanctuary, and of course, the crazy lining of a wall with pictures from all of our 6 children. So the first thing you find is our Art Deco styled master bath. And I was able to find these beautiful raised glazed tiles from the 1920s from England, and I imported them. They were actually more expensive than all the marble, but I was able to create and evoke the 1920s, which was respecting the architecture of the house. And we did the same with the lamps and the mirrors and the cabinetry. And I was able to actually find the lotus leaf type of wallpaper that matches the original tiles. And then as we continue this way, we have the actual bedroom, which is, I think, proportionate to the sizes of the spaces in the home. I think a lot of times people make these huge additions and it feels like an addition. We wanted this to feel like it was always here. And my favorite is that I have the double doors that face the pool and the beautiful backyard. And it's just such a great and relaxing space. So here we are on the back terrace that is beautiful coral rock. And we did the pool to be a lounging pool and a relaxing pool. It's very shallow, it's only 5 feet, but it's really made so that we can actually relax inside of the pool and not have to be worrying about not having enough room. And there's plenty of space for people to sit out here and enjoy the beautiful weather. So the entire house was built around a courtyard that we created to mix the old and the new. And it's my favorite spot of the house. So we have the beautiful lemon trees that my husband tends to. These are Meyer lemons, and they're huge and they're delicious. We use them for everything from pies to seafood. I'm trying to find somebody who can make limoncello with them. And here we have the fountains that we just thought would give this a charming effect with the Juliet balcony doors, because the house is so high above the main level, and it gives you this grand entrance into the living room, the formal living room.
You really do feel like you're in Italy.
That was the idea. The idea was to take advantage of the architecture, the setting, the sunlight, and really create a very, I want to say, organic environment that matches the home.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Cece.
And I'm Nick. Welcome to our guest house in West Palm Beach, Florida. Please come and take a look around.
Hi, I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles?
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Cece Bowman.
I'm Nick Bowman, and we're in West Palm Beach, Florida, in our guest house. So the backstory behind this is we're actually neighbors. We live next door, and we've been here for about 7 years. During that time, our family has grown, and we needed space for our little ones to run around in, and we wrote a number of letters to the lovely neighbors next door who finally gave in or were ready to sell to us. And really the idea behind it was put up a couple of soccer goals, a big trampoline, but what came with that land is a little dollhouse for Cece to play with. And I actually never saw the house before we bought it. Cece was the one that took the phone call saying, we're ready to sell. She said, yes, but let me check with my husband, but yes, we'll buy it. And we really did buy it sight unseen.
The first time we walked into the house, we really had no idea what we were walking into, but we knew the family who owned it before had been here since 1972. They raised 6 children here. They're the nicest family, and nothing had changed, I think, since 1972. So there was blue kind of shag carpet everywhere. curtains all over the windows, so you couldn't see really outside much. So what we walked into was kind of a dark, sort of old house, and we were so excited when we finally closed on the house on June 1st, so just about 6 or 7 months ago. We ripped the curtains off and actually ripped all the carpet out ourselves to reveal some true treasures that were lying underneath. So, for example, there's a beautiful terrazzo floor here that you'll see later. But as we stripped the house of all those heavy things, it became this light, pretty space, and we realized that we had stumbled across something really special.
My first impression was I didn't know people had carpet in Florida. And then I learned about popcorn ceilings as well.
Oh yeah. We had our work cut out for us. The biggest challenge of the renovation was just the amount that we had to do. All the windows basically had cracks in them. And at first we started by saying, okay, we're gonna do as little as possible to bring this up to snuff. And as we went, instead of replacing just a pane of glass here and there, we realized that we really were just gonna get so much more into this that we had to bite the bullet. So we got all new windows, we skim coated all the ceilings, we had a terrazzo company come in and restore the flooring. And so those were kind of the biggest construction things that we did. Other than that, we didn't touch anything in the house, really.
I think it helps that someone broke into the house. Someone literally smashed one of the windows, and we thought, okay, we have to repair one very big window. We might have to rip the Band-Aid off and just do all of them and make them shatterproof or hurricane-proof and actually just go all in. That was probably our biggest unforeseen expense, but it's really opened up the house and gives it so much light at the same time.
Yeah, it was a blessing. The design direction for the house is different from our house because every single thing in here is new. We wanted a place where the kids can come in from the yard and jump on the sofa with messy feet and not care. So everything was done based on the fact that we knew it would get used and loved, and we could spill red wine and not really care. So there's nothing precious, there's nothing super sentimental. We just wanted it to be pretty, and which is totally different from the house we live in, right? It's also kind of a chance for me. I'm an interior designer for Kemble Interiors in Palm Beach, and it has been a fun opportunity to kind of get my hands dirty with some of the work that we do for our clients too. So you'll see in some of the rooms we've stenciled walls, and Nick and I did it ourselves. And it's really just a colorful, bright, happy design that we think fits in with what people like to see in Palm Beach. Welcome to our living room. This is the first room you walk into when you enter our house. And what's amazing about this house is that when we first purchased it, it had blue shag carpet wall to wall everywhere that you can see. And the day we closed on the house, we personally ripped it out. So what was underneath, which was a big mystery to us, ended up being this beautiful terrazzo floor that we had a restoration company come in and completely sand down and re-polish and make perfect, which is awesome because it's casual, it's very Florida. It also just lends itself to the fact that we're in a 1950s ranch house in West Palm Beach. This is just really classic. So we were lucky to find this underneath the rug. This room is where we have cocktails, we entertain. Again, when we first bought the house, The curtains were covering all the windows. You could not see outside. There were shutters, awning shutters above the windows that covered your sky view. So we removed all of that, and what was revealed was this bright, sunny place that we love to hang out now.
Coming back to the floor, I think that's probably my favorite thing that we inherited, and I think it's worth saying that it's always worth peeking what's under the floor and seeing what may or may not be there. This really opens up, I think, the light. It has some color in it, but it's bright, it's white, it allows us to play off it, and you never know what's under there. It took some TLC to bring it back to life and restore it, but I think it's my favorite thing that we inherited, at least.
The walls are a Benjamin Moore soothing green. Nick and I actually went to the paint store, which going to the paint store as a couple is terrifying. It should never be done, but we didn't disagree. So we came home with all the paint chips and laid them out on the floor, and what you see in the house are all these different happy colors. We don't have any white walls in this house at all. So Benjamin Moore really was where we went for the color inspiration. The curtains we actually found on Etsy. The gentleman who is the Etsy vendor pleated them for us to the correct widths and was really helpful in making these for the room, but they weren't custom curtains made in a workroom in Palm Beach. We did have the installers who I work with at work install everything, because things like that are just what gets knocked around first. So we used really good installers, but the actual items that you see are very casual and not custom. Even the artwork actually is from Target. So we had fun. We just wanted it to be colorful and happy and kid-friendly. The floor plan in this room was tricky to figure out. When we first walked in, there was no furniture in here, so we didn't really know how it was used before. And it kind of, after drawing this in on CAD several different ways, this just seemed to make the most sense. And it's a fun place to get cozy with our children and friends. From here, we can go this way into the dining area, which is part of the living room. It's all open. These here are really fun Mary Maguire art pieces. They are very islandy and sort of follies, which is appropriate because this house is our folly. The frames are actually from the Kemble shop, Kemble Interiors, where I work, and we use these as gallery wall frames in a lot of our projects. The bamboo is just perfect for Palm Beach. And then as we come into the dining area, you'll notice that the two chairs at the head of the table are different from the side chairs. There's nothing more fun than mixing it up. There is something about having all the same chairs, just a sea of chairs around a dining table, that is traditional, but sometimes it's fun to have two different chairs at the head that are tall, or even to have benches on each side of a dining table just for fun. This mirror is really special to me. I was fortunate enough to collaborate with Fleur Home, a mirror company that does really magical work. They took an inspiration image that I found and were able to create this massive mirror. And it's called the Coco mirror, after my mom. And they actually sell it on their website. And hopefully I get to do more things with them. But it's all wood cutouts, it's layered. It's just taking something that a lot of times is just rectangular and doing something totally wacky with it. So that's really fun. To dress the table, we tend to not use flowers. We just go find shells in Harbor Island or down the road and like set the table with something a little less traditional. You can have orchids coming out of them. You can do so much fun stuff with something other than just regular flowers. The placemats are leaves, again, just something out of the ordinary. These bowls were found on the internet, just scouring for old vintage plates and dinnerware, and I love the pop of color. When we have parties here, it's like a picnic. Everybody brings something. There's a little tiny oven and a 4-burner stove, and it's just simple stuff. So, you know, a lot of it is about cocktail hour and some of it about eating good food. Mostly about being in a setting that we like to be in.
I think neither of us would put cooking anywhere near the top of our skills list. So I think what we find ourselves doing is Cece will make somewhere beautiful for you to sit. I'll make you something beautiful for you to drink, but if you could help us out and bring us something good to eat, then we're friends. There's a couple of things actually in here that I'd love to point out or tell you about. So my heart says my favorite thing in the room is the mirror that Cece designed. However, this chandelier, which I absolutely love, it used to be in our home, but I used to hit my head on it every single day standing up from the table. So I'm personally ecstatic that it's in the guest house, hung a little higher, and I so far haven't been in danger of impaling myself on it.
My career in interior design probably started when I was 8 years old. I loved the idea of designing houses where people lived. And I would draw island houses. My family and I used to go to St. Bart's every year, and the houses there are just magical because you have to go from the bedroom to get to the kitchen. You actually have to go outside. And at that time I lived in Vermont, where that wasn't really an option. So I just dreamed my whole life of designing tropical houses. And in high school, I took architecture classes, and I continued that through college as a minor. And then I went to the New York School of Interior Design for 2 years and eventually moved to Palm Beach, where I felt like that sort of tropical drive took me. And I started working at Kemble in 2011. It's the most magical experience I could have ever asked for. The creativity within that company is just unbelievable, and what I have learned in the last 13 years of being there has really shaped who I am and also my design, obviously.
My background is a little different. I spent 16 years in financial services, and during this time, you know, Cece and I got married, we've had kids, and both of our careers were really taking off. And about a year ago, we were on the beach in Miami having a rare weekend away and just talking about how busy we are and how crazy things are. And I said to Cece, you know, do you think one of us should take a step back from our career and be there more for the kids and to support the other one? And Cece sort of said how happy she is and how much she loves her job, and I put my hand up, and that's where we are. So I'm now what we call the lead parent or the lead dad. I devote my time to supporting my amazing wife and spending more time with our amazing kids. Okay, shall we go and see the one room that I had a tiny little bit of influence on? Come with us to the kitchen.
And now we're in the kitchen, where we also have a little bar. This was a piece that Nick actually found in Antique Row in West Palm Beach, one of the best places to shop for little antiques, and brought it home in his car, and he was really proud. The floor in here when we purchased the house was really bad vinyl tile. So we removed all the flooring, we've fixed up all this terrazzo, and this was the only room where we changed the layout of the room because here was a stove that was super old, probably from 1972. When the previous owners moved into this house, there was no dishwasher and the fridge was here. So we ended up just reorganizing this, bringing it up to being a more modern kitchen, but we actually kept the old quirky cabinets. We loved them. This all had doors on it and we took them off, and as you can see, we've painted it in 2 colors.
Cece mentioned that we went to the paint store where she made a couple of trips on her own as well. And one day she came back and put down a green and a blue and said, what color should the kitchen be? And my immediate reaction was, why not both? So that's why we have a green-blue kitchen, and that's why I feel like this is the one room I had an impact on.
What we love about it is that it keeps the 1950s charm. It doesn't modernize the kitchen at all. It actually is a giant step backwards. Same with this detail above the window. This was here and is what just makes the house this charming 1950s cottage that we love. We picked up some vintage looking appliances along the way just to kind of keep with the theme of not modernizing the house too much. We have a daughter named Clementine, so this painting is for her.
I think maybe the biggest impact in this room was doing the countertops. I think changing the countertops in a kitchen, I don't know if that counts as a big thing or a small thing, but it definitely makes a big difference. The countertops before were sort of a white, would you describe them as vinyl?
It was a laminate material. We took the laminate countertops away and replaced it with this Corian, which we actually have in our main house too. It's a green Corian, and we bought the last 3 slabs that exist on the planet. I hunted this down.
And amazingly, just to give you an idea of my eye for detail, I just realized that we have this in the main house as well.
The internet is a wonderful thing. I scoured Korean remnant websites and was able to find the exact amount that we needed and have it shipped to a fabricator in West Palm who came on a Sunday morning and put it in for us. So we were really lucky.
So in terms of signature drinks, I've possibly oversold myself here as the mixologist. You can see there aren't that many things accessory-wise going on in the bar, but if you like a bone-dry martini or an old-fashioned, then you're in luck.
So we have in our main house, we have an open kitchen in our family room, and it's great because we can see the kids all the time. We have a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old. Here, what's kind of fun is we can make a huge mess and then go into another room and not look at the mess anymore. So in the closed kitchen, you can actually remove yourself from the workplace and go into the pretty room without it all being mixed in one space.
I always have an opinion. It doesn't mean it's necessarily right or listened to, and I think that's how it should be. And that's the same when it comes to design. There are maybe 1 or 2 surprising things, I think, around the house where I would try and stake a claim and say that it was my idea. But really, I know my lane and I try and stay in it, and Cece's the expert, and I defer to her.
Let's go to the sunroom. Follow us.
Welcome to the sunroom.
This is the sunniest room in the house because we have 2 huge windows that are wall to wall and floor to ceiling. And this seems to be every man's favorite place to sit, even though it's pink. Some of the things that are special in here are the trim detail that you see around the ceiling. again, this being a 1950s ranch house, there is no architectural detailing. It is literally cement block walls. There's no crown molding, there's no window casing. So it's our job as designers to create interest in a room with nothing happening. So this is actually PVC that's been laser cut out by a company called Fuller Architectural Panels. They can create any design that you want, and he's really a creative guy, the man David who runs it. He makes fences, he makes lattice rooms. He can pretty much make your dreams come true, and we work with him a lot. And then behind that, we have installed a raffia wall covering just to be a little unexpected. You usually expect wallpaper on the walls, but we put it on the ceiling instead. So a lot of the furniture in here we inherited. I grew up with this coffee table out in Long Island. And the other pieces were just from old other houses. The side tables here are new, and then this is a vintage piece from Palm Beach Regency, one of the better Wicker stores in West Palm Beach, our favorite. And this is just where the kids close the door after dinner and come and watch a movie. It's kind of like a little library, which is what makes it special. What's funny about this room is everyone we know walks in the front door and wants to sit in here. I think because it's a small room, people actually feel enclosed and happy in here. There's something about the proportions of the room that just make you want to be in here.
I think the location as well, it doesn't feel too central to the house, but it feels a great place to, I like coming in here with coffee, reading the paper. When you look through the windows, you can see the sunrise and the sunset. It's an amazing place in the corner. You can see everything that's really going on. We're right on the corner lot here as well with both streets, so it just feels like it's all happening in here. I think we'd owned the house for perhaps 2 weeks, maybe 1 week, when unfortunately someone actually broke in and smashed the window here, which at the time was heartbreaking. We felt like this was a safe place, and then we knew someone had come in and caused some damage. So that's what led us to actually changing the window and the layout and possibly the whole house to an extent, because the big windows we've put in are not just functional, they're hurricane impact, but they let so much light in, and it's not an expense we thought we would do. It's a big one, but it was certainly worth doing.
So we use this house for our family primarily. We have a huge trampoline, as Nick mentioned, in the yard. We invite people to our house for dinner, but we have dinner here. And we really use it as kind of an extension of our main house, which is just across, a couple steps away. What's nice is it's always set up for a party. So the idea of just using it for fun is magic to us, because you can walk into this whole new setting and entertain, which we weren't really doing in our house with 3 little kids, stuff everywhere.
First and foremost, probably useful for some little bit of peace and quiet, and let the kids run around here outside and make as much mess as they want. But then it's almost like we have a part of our house that they really don't go into that is always party ready or dinner party ready or ready for friends to come over, put it that way.
We do movie nights here with our kids. They love sleeping over here. It's like they ask every weekend if they can come over. So it's just a fun little adventure for us.
So this is maybe the room on the inside that we did the least in, perhaps. I think where we put a lot more time and effort into, at least in ours, is the lovely bedroom. So why don't you come and take a look?
Welcome to the queen guest bedroom that we call the Wicker room. We hand stenciled this ourselves, And actually, our children helped us create this pattern on the walls with a simple stencil that we taped up and would use a roller. And now you feel like you're in a wicker basket. So that was the most fun thing for us in this room. Again, there are no architectural details, so we added some by just painting color in the corners and around the window and doors, just to create sort of like a tape trim that you would see on an upholstered wall. The curtains in here are, again, Etsy, that we found. The pattern just made us happy. It's palm trees. We're in Palm Beach, so West Palm Beach. It just made sense. And then we have a wicker headboard that we bought on Amazon. And we just love wicker. The use of wicker here is just a natural material, so it makes good sense. And these little French specimen pieces were actually picked up by a newer store on Dixie Highway called Heirlooms. Nikki there has an insane collection of antique rugs and probably the coolest rug showroom I've been to, where she lays the rugs out for you and your clients with big lighting and beautiful photographs, which in the antique rug world is very unusual to find. So I visit her quite often and picked these up along the way. We had a wood floor in here that was parquet, and it had a lot of damage from the blue shag carpet that covered it for a long time.
And not just from the carpet, right? I mean, if we were standing here 9 months ago, I'd be about 1 foot shorter, as we had holes in the floor. And
there was a hole here. So we had to fix that, and we patched it up and hired a professional painter to come in and put the green paint on so it wouldn't wear off. This was a painting I actually picked up when I lived in New York City. That's when I was interning with Decor, the bespoke mural company. And we used to go down to the little flea markets and pick up pieces from artists that were there. So that's probably the first painting I ever bought myself.
I think the trick to making budget-friendly decor feel high-end is rooting, looking for the diamond in the rough, going to the stores where things are priced nicely, and not just taking the first thing that's in there, but really looking for something that you actually like. And case in point might be the bedside tables here, which I really liked spending about 8 hours building and putting together with their tiny screws, but it was budget-friendly, and they look great in the room.
I almost lost Nick on that one. he almost quit the guest house. But you're a trooper.
So welcome to the master bathroom. I think this is perhaps the most vintage room and the least touched during the renovation. Is that fair?
Yeah, we didn't do anything to this tile. This is probably from the 1950s. And we painted, we put a shutter in the window, and this light fixture is probably the most special thing. It's by a company called Stray Dog Designs. We do a lot of work in Boca Grande at the Gasparilla Inn, a really special place. And Stray Dog has made huge amounts of completely custom light fixtures. One was 14 feet high and was a swirl of fish. So they're really a cool company out of Mexico, and it's all paper mache and handmade. So I love working with them.
And for those who are doing anything like this and working to a budget, you'll see that the bathtub it's set in. It would have been easy, not literally, but easy to rip that out and tempting to put a new one in. But actually, for what, $100 or so, we were able to have the existing original bathtub refinished and brought back to life. And I think that was much more fun in keeping the character of the house. And the doors, by the way, the doors for the bedrooms, I think all came from Home Depot.
Yeah,
right? But they made a big difference, just a little tweak like that. Should we go and see the master bedroom?
Yes.
Come with us.
Welcome to the primary bedroom of the guest house. This is our king bedroom, the main bedroom that most people use. And this is where Nick and I have spent the most time working with our hands. So every one of these flowers we actually painted. Well, we started by painting the walls blue, and then we painted the flowers on top. You can see in here, again, that we have used a trick. Instead of a crown molding, we actually painted a scallop around the edge of the ceiling just to create something fun to look at. When you're lying in bed looking up at a white ceiling, it's not as much fun as having something there. We picked up a lot of this stuff along the way. Nick and I drove down to Delray to get this chair. The guy practically couldn't wait to get rid of it.
I think the furniture in here is fun, is everything has its own story. The bedside table has moved with us at least one time. I think at some time it was in one of our children's bedrooms, if not two. The desk used to be a different color. It was a darker color, and as you might see in the house, the theme, it tends to be brighter, or at least paired with white. So we had that painted. And this was something that was new, which I was delighted with when we opened it up and didn't require assembly.
In here, we have bamboo curtain poles that have a painted detail. And this is kind of a fun thing. So my grandmother was the first person to receive a master's certificate from the Isabella O'Neill School for Hand Finishing in New York City, which is a very specialized faux finishing school that probably has the best finishes that you can find. And so it's in my blood a bit to get hands-on with the paintwork here. And I think that's what really drove us to take some risks in the house, is that I just feel like in my soul that at some point I need to start using my own hands to do some of these things. So this was the first time I was able to do that, and I'm really happy Nick was along for the ride. The rug in here is new. It's West Elm, and the bed skirt actually came from my mother's house. She's redoing her house now and had this bed skirt, which we were lucky enough to have, because again, it's a proper bed skirt, and it just was a great coincidence that these two things were friendly together. We bought the sheets at Target. They have a little pattern on them, which I always think is fun to have something on the bed other than just white sheets. So the whole thing together really ended up working out. I love most about this guest house is that it gives our 3 little girls somewhere to play. Our house is a courtyard house. It has a pool in the middle, and it has about 3 feet of grass around the pool where they could play. And we always felt like we kind of lived in a city, and that our kids didn't have the chance to just run around in the grass. And when we bought this and knocked the fence down, I think that was one of the happiest days of our life. And our girls run around here all the time. To be honest, the house was just a bonus. But now that it's here, I think my favorite part of it is that we are entertaining more. It gives us a fun place to go that we didn't have.
I agree 100%. Really, the idea behind it was, we were sort of torn, well, not really torn, but it was 2 reasons to buy it. Was to have the yard for the girls, but also, honestly, so that someone else didn't come and build a great big house and take that little bit more of our privacy, which everyone likes to have, but in an area that's fast growing, sometimes that can get lost when new houses are built and doubled up. And then we sort of looked at each other and said, okay, what do we do with the house that's actually on the land here? And we toyed with doing nothing, to be honest, and just leaving it. And then we thought, actually, it could be fun to see what we can do, what CC can do. Welcome to the twin bedroom, as we call it, or the blue room. Possibly the one that gave us the most headaches. I think if the rest of the house gave CC sleepless nights, this is the room that gave me all of mine. We made a decision to pull up the floor in here once we realized there was terrazzo, having seen it in the rest of the house and loving it. What we didn't expect was to get halfway through pulling up the top level of the floor and realized whoever poured the terrazzo stopped, and what then flowed was just solid gray concrete. So we made a decision initially to glue some vinyl tiles down, which weren't very Florida friendly and started popping straight back up. So from there we took those back out, cleaned off the glue, and then painted the floor blue.
We chose the floor color to be a dark blue so that it wouldn't show marks and all the things you don't want it to show. And then we painted the walls and the ceiling in sort of a paler blue. And so we do call this the blue room because it is very blue. But we also wanted it to be a fun kids room if we had friends or family staying here. And so this is the only room that has twin beds. And the fish that you see above, this is something that we love to do, is to create sort of a series of something interesting instead of just your classic art. So we found a Romanian woman on Etsy, again, who makes these in all different colors, and we hung them in sort of a school of fish pattern just to give the room something fun. But this was definitely the most challenging room. It had wood paneling on the walls that we had to take off. Again, the floor, which Nick already talked about, and then it has all the electrical for the whole house. We have to live with this. It is what it is. This is part of living in an old, funky house. We actually had to redo all the electrical in the house to add smoke detectors just because it's 2024 and they still didn't have smoke detectors in the house, which was terrifying. So this desk was actually here. It sat right here, and we thought if this is a kid's room, this is the cutest little place to color or do something. So we saved it when we were kind of destroying the rest of the finishes that were here. And this is just a neat like rush ottoman as a chair that can tuck under there and not be in the way. These are sort of an Indian-inspired blanket just at the foot of the bed to add color, and same with the pillows on the bed. Again, not just white linens. We have our kids' books in here in case we do have a sleepover, their favorite thing in the world. And so it's home. This is our part of our home. The dresser is a really neat piece from Palm Beach Regency, and it's just an old classic Florida look with the split rattan, and it's good storage. If you actually follow me over to the bathroom, this is where we came up with the blue room because, as you can see, the existing tiles are blue and yellow, and we love the funkiness of this. So we wanted to preserve this and basically create a room that would come off of this bathroom so that we wouldn't have to destroy any of what was there. But I mean, I just love like the little soap holder in blue. It's so quirky. So this was the beginning and this was the result.
The word home for me, home is where the heart is. You know, my home, as I will sometimes say, let's go home, let's take the kids to England. But home is here as well, and so I mean it when I say home is where the heart is, because I moved here to be with Cece, and now we have our little family.
I think that wins. I don't have anything to say. Home is where you are, babe.
Hello, Homeworthy. I'm Natalia. Welcome to my Coral Gables home. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
Hello, I am Natalia Millar, and we are in my Coral Gables home today. This is a historic home in Coral Gables, which is one of the neighborhoods around Miami. The house was built in 1926 by an architect called Robert Law Weed, and it is one of 7 historic villages in Coral Gables. I've always loved the villages in Coral Gables, and particularly liked the Italian village, which is where my house is. I bought the house 3 years ago and set out to renovate it and take it back to the most original version that it could be. So the house is in an architectural revival style, which was quite common in this part of Miami in the 1920s. This is an Italianate revival, so it's meant to look like classic Tuscan homes, and it has thick walls, textured finishes, asymmetrical layout, a really wonderful floor plan. It's got an L-shaped floor plan that makes it really fabulous for all of the rooms to have at least 3 walls with windows. So it's a garden house. I've always said this is really a garden house, and all of the rooms are oriented onto this wonderful side yard courtyard that I've created. When I first saw the house, I knew that it was a very special place. It looked actually great. The previous owners had a very colorful and fun interpretation of what the house should look like. And I could see past that and realize that I could put my own stamp on the house while keeping the authentic features, architectural features alive. Well, welcome to the entrance of my home. I always think an entrance should set the tone for what you're going to see in the house. So this is where I introduced the green color theme that you'll see in so many of the rooms. This is a wonderful original staircase feature, which I love. And so all I did was refinish it and then added this wonderful jute runner in this really fabulous turquoise color. And then you also see some of the art pieces that I have here. Here on this wall, there's this wonderful work of art by a Cuban artist called Ariadna Contino. It's made with intricate layers of paper. And of course, it looks like a Miami, palm leaf garden. So it was the perfect piece to have in the entrance to showcase what you're going to see in the rest of the house. So this wonderful plaster texture that you see on the walls is very typical of what you would have seen in a 1920s Mediterranean revival style home that was built in Coral Gables. You know, these wonderful European homes didn't have just a flat finish, not a drywall finish, it's a plaster finish. And this troweled plaster effect kind of expresses the material, which I think is really great. And so I have that finish here in the entrance and in the living room. And I think it just works really well. So in this entrance hall, this is where we have this wonderful terracotta floor. I bought these, they're contemporary Mexican terracotta tiles. My dad and I drove up to Palm Beach during the pandemic and found a little warehouse where they had them. But then there's a wonderful gentleman in Florida who refinishes using a type of motor oil to make them look like they're 100 years old. And I'll show you the ones in the dining room later where you can see how great the finish match is. I love this door. It's, you know, a wonderful timber panel door. And I think it sets that tone for that old world, rustic architecture that you see in the rest of the house. So follow me now into the living room. So this is the living room, and it's the heart of the home. I don't believe that any room should be so formal that people are uncomfortable coming in and sitting down, whether they're wearing jeans or a cocktail dress. So I always make sure that I have lots of different textures in the fabric. I actually have a performance fabric on the sofa. It's pure fray, so it's fabulous. But it's very durable for all of the parties that I like to host. And here there's a combination of pieces that I've designed, like these coffee tables, which are part of my own furniture collection. And then, of course, the pretzel chairs, which are vintage, but I've recovered in this fantastic flame stitch fabric in the blues and greens shade. I think this is the first fabric that I chose for this house because I felt the color palette was just fantastic. And this is from Decor. And another of the early purchases for this house was this wonderful canvas by a local artist, Magnus Sodamine. And it's this wonderful, expressive, deeply brushstroke heavy canvas that is of a botanic garden very close to where I grew up. So not only was it the color palette, but it was the subject matter that connects very much to my own history in Florida, and that is at the heart of this wonderful room. So behind me is this wonderful fireplace, an original feature from the 1926 design by Robert Law Weed. It's actually fantastic to have, and last Christmas it was cool enough in Florida to have it on. But I love how it's on the corner of the room. It feels to me like all of these wonderful, European rooms with a corner fireplace, and it anchors the room. It also makes it a difficult room to furnish because it's quite asymmetrical. I've got 2 doors, 2 windows, another opening into the entrance, and the fireplace. So it was an interesting space to have to figure out how to furnish. I knew that I wanted to showcase this sofa. This is a sofa that I designed inspired by a David Hockney painting that I had seen at a show at the Tate Modern in London. And it was a portrait of these 2 men, very serious looking men in front of this fabulous pink velvet sofa. And I saw it in the canvas and I said, what a sexy shape. I need to make a sofa like that. So this is my Hockney sofa. And I think it just fits perfectly against this very large window. And that kind of set the tone for the way I furnished the rest of the room. But everything in here is a special piece. This wonderful ceramic basket, which I love, I bought in Paris years ago, and it looks like shark teeth, so it makes sense in Florida, but is actually ceramic. And what I love is that I'm always buying when I'm traveling. I'm always trying, I think any collector will tell you the same thing. You find beautiful things and you buy them. So I didn't actually buy anything in this room for this house, except for some of the furniture. And all of the accessories were just things that I had been collecting over time and knew one day I would find the perfect place for them. And it's this house. And then this piece here, this is by this wonderful Venezuelan artist, a ceramicist called Reynaldo Sanguino. He works in a studio in New York. I'm obsessed with his work. I think he just has the play of colors, of density of the glazes, the touch of metallic. Every time I see one of his pieces, I fall in love. So I'm a big fan. And the stool is from Reynaldo, and these 2 wonderful pieces that you see, the vase and the tray, are also by him. And this particular vignette, this is a composition that again happened quite organically. I purchased the mirror in Paris for another project, thinking the client would love it. I showed it to them in the presentation. They didn't love it, so it ended up here. And then that client came for lunch a few months ago and said, I love the mirror. I said, I bought it for you, but now it's mine. But yes, so the mirror is from Paris. This is from a wonderful, wonderful place in Miami called Michel Contessa. He has just beautiful, one-of-a-kind pieces of furniture, and it's all the stuff that I love, and a vintage lamp. And this wonderful, wonderful side table. I grew up in Mexico, and this is from Ago Projects in Mexico, a wonderful design gallery. that I love to visit. And this, again, this combination of deeply textured timber with splatter painted brick, I think is just very cool. And this piece is very special. And I have to say, I was told by the antique dealer who sold it to me, I can never sell it. And I don't think I probably would. But it's this wonderful travertine and jade screen. Again, I bought this before this house was even in my imagination. I just saw it and I fell in love with it. It's been to London where I showed it at a wonderful room that I did there, and now it's here, and it hides folding tables for parties. The decoration of the home is really meant to be an expression of my personal style. I like interiors that are deeply textured, that are layered with pieces of furniture from different styles, of different materials, of different compositions. So if anything, this house was meant to be an expression of what it is that I love about design. For this house in particular, I used a color palette that I love, which is the combination of green and blue. And you'll see different variations of green and blue throughout the whole house. And, you know, as with everything, I think a home should tell the story of its owner. I think your personal narrative should be showcased through the artwork, through the accessories, through the pieces that you have. And as this home is so personal, everything you see here is something that I've either acquired on my travels or has been a family gift, or I've chosen because it makes sense in South Florida. It really is a very personal expression of how I like to live. When I moved into the house, I saw that there had been a lot of additions in terms of moldings and millwork and baseboards and crown molding that just wasn't appropriate to the style of the house. So all I tried to do was to take the rooms back to what I thought they would have looked like in 1926. I've been collecting for a long time, and obviously my sense of style evolves. And pieces that I loved, I don't always love in the same way, but funnily enough, at this point in my life, I feel like I've honed my taste enough so that the things that I buy, I end up really loving. And in this particular house, which I finished about 3 years ago, there's only one room that I'm still finessing, but the rest of them, I'm still as happy with the pieces that I put in when I moved in as I am today. But there's always room for something. For example, this wonderful work of art by a local Florida artist, Carlos Betancourt, is a beautiful piece that my parents gave me last year. And that's very special. And again, it looks like it was designed for this room with the turquoise and the blue. It just connects so beautifully with all the other pieces. But again, I'm such a great believer if you buy what you love and you see something like that screen, which was so special. I knew that I would have a place for it, whether it was for myself or if it was for a client who I love to source special pieces for. I think that's one of the great things that one does as a designer. So one of the things that I think is so important when you buy a historic property is to try and maintain as much of the original features as possible. These floors, for the most part, are the original floors. Obviously, they've been repaired over the years. I had to do a little bit of repair in Florida. Obviously, you get things like termite damage, but trying to keep to this original, 3-inch board that's quite thin, but I think works really well with the scale of the room. And then I designed this wonderful rug to pick up the lines, these kind of organic lines of the pretzel chairs and the Hockney sofa. And this is one of the pieces that's in my own collection. And I love the different play of heights in the pile. So you have the flatter wool, and then you have these kind of tufted bits. Again, I'm a huge fan of texture. I think that great character in interiors comes from playing with contrasting textures. The biggest challenge that I faced during the renovation project was just trying to get as much historical information as possible about what the house had been. I bought the house right at the beginning of COVID in March of 2020. And the reality was that it had been renovated by previous owners, so a lot of the electrical systems and the plumbing were upgraded. So my renovation could primarily be cosmetic. My professional journey was not that linear. But I think from when I was a child, I was probably always meant to be an architect. I've always loved homes. I've loved traveling and visiting those museums that were a house that was frozen in time, whether it was the Newport mansions that I saw when I was at university or places I visited in Europe. I was always drawn to properties that told the story of the owners and of a time and of a place. And so after I graduated from college and I studied art history and architectural history and enjoyed that enormously because I do love history, I realized that I wanted to be more involved in a practical way and to practice architecture. So I went on to study architecture. I got my master's in that. And a few years after working here in South Florida, I moved to London, and my career shifted more into interiors, and it's been incredibly rewarding. And so now I have a wonderful practice based primarily in London, but we're also based here, where we get to do projects all over the world, and we do everything from interior architecture to interior design, furniture sourcing, product. It's a dream come true. So from the living room, the perfect room to see next is the dining room. So let me show you. So this is one of my favorite rooms in the house. It's the dining room. And the main defining feature in this space is the wallpaper. This is my Ambia wallpaper, a wallpaper that I designed in collaboration with Fromental. And I had been commissioned in London to design a Cuban-inspired room based on my Cuban heritage. And I was inspired by the work of a wonderful Cuban master, Wilfredo Lam. And I designed this, wonderful, wonderful wallpaper, wall covering, because it really is a work of art. And all the panels are custom made for each room, and they're really special. I created the color tones and the textures from using different semi-precious stones, and you can see the depth of texture when you get close up. But this wonderful room is where I love hosting lots of dinner parties, actually parties, big cocktail parties, all sorts of parties. And the double height space certainly lends itself to having a dramatic room. So I had an animal theme also in this house. I have a lot of kids visiting me, my niece and my nephews. I love them all very much. And I have a game where I say, go and photograph all the animals in the room, and that entertains them for about 45 minutes, which I think is a good start. But so Daphne the giraffe lives here in the dining room, and throughout the house you'll see other animals. Wonderful works of art, again, mostly Cuban artists. This is Rafael Domenech, and that's Moises Finale, and these are all just really special pieces because they're artists I've known, artists that have been in my parents' collection as well. So it's nice to have pieces that remind you of home. And then over here on this side of the dining room, I have these two wonderful cabinets, brutalist-inspired cabinets, which are great. And again, more ceramics and more special pieces that I bought in Paris. I think Paris is one of the greatest places that a designer can go to source beautiful pieces from these random plant people chandeliers to more work by this wonderful ceramicist that I love. So this dining room is comfortable for 8, but in a pinch I can squeeze 9. But it's also wonderful during Christmas. I set up a really big tree, and I have lots of buffets on the table. So, and it has doors that open to both sides of the garden. So it really is, this room ends up being the heart of the home in many ways. I think homes are for living, and for me, nothing is nicer than having a house full of people. So when I entertain, I love to cook. I do the cooking myself. And I love to make things that I could make in advance. I often make lots of salads or a great dish like, duck confit or a wonderful puttanesca fish. Always great wines and a cocktail for dessert. I love a liquid dessert, like an espresso martini or a Campari cake with a little shot of Negroni on the side. So this is a really interesting room because this was not originally an enclosed room. The house from 1926 would have ended here and have a caretaker's cottage and a garage on the other side. So this was an open-air loggia, which was enclosed by previous owners. And this floor, which you can see is this is the old terracotta I was talking about before. It's undulating and shows its age, would have originally been an exterior floor. So I think this room has a lot of character. And you can see, if you look up at the ceilings, the original wooden ceiling, which I've painted black, and then designed this pendant light, which is asymmetrical because the room is actually not symmetrical. One side of the ceiling is longer than the other. So it's a bit of a trick to make sure that the pendant is centered over the dining table, but also works when you look up at the ceiling. My favorite architectural feature of this home has to be the layout. It is so clever the way Robert Law Weed, first of all, sites, put the house on the site. Even in the hot, humid Florida summers, there's always a breeze in this house. There's always all the rooms have cross ventilation. It's incredibly clever. The thickness of the walls mean that the house stays cool in the summer and warmer in the winter. Not that it ever gets very cold in South Florida in the winter, but it's just, I'm always amazed by architects who were working without all of the benefits of technology and climate control that architects today that we work with, to see that clever design is still relevant today. It's really difficult to say what my favorite piece in the house is because I love so many of them. I have a wonderful giraffe sculpture in the dining room, a copper and brass giraffe by a Mexican artist called Sergio Bustamante. I grew up with his pieces in Mexico, where I was born and raised by my parents. And to have one of his amazing pieces, I think that's pretty special. I also love a ceramicist based in New York, a Venezuelan ceramicist, Reynaldo Sanguino. I've been collecting his pieces for a number of years after first finding him in Design Miami. And I have probably 5 or 6 pieces of his here in my house. So I wouldn't part with those. So from this wonderful dining room, I'd love to show you the outside, the side yard of the house, which is an outdoor living room, which is where we spend all our time in South Florida. This is an outdoor living room. In South Florida, we live outside. Well, practically year-round, except in the summer when it's very hot. So I really wanted this room, this outdoor room, to have furniture that felt like living room furniture. So you can see the seating area. I'll show you over here. It's deeply cushioned upholstery, wonderful. The same attention to detail in the fabrics that we used in the outside, in the inside we used on the outside. Lots of textures, patterns, and colors, and of course, vintage pieces of ceramic on the coffee tables as well. So when I moved into this house in March of 2020, the garden had so many different types of plants, and I thought it's not a huge garden, so it needed a bit more, it needed to be rationalized. And I decided to plant a garden of just Florida natives that would grow quickly. They would be in various shades of green. I love the shade of green. I love gardens that have lots of different colors of green in a concentrated space. So we planted things like silver buttonwood, caper berries, a rum tree, just these wonderful Florida native plants, and they have grown so much in 3 years. I think the garden has almost doubled in size. Now, one concession that I made to the Italianate history of the house is planting olive trees. We have 2 olive trees in the house in these wonderful bronze pots from Bronzino that are really beautiful, but the rest of the plants are Florida natives. So as I mentioned before, I'm a huge believer in contextual design, and the flooring here is a corallina, a limestone, a very typical oolitic limestone that you would find in Florida. It's what most of the houses in Coral Gables were built from. And what I love about this particular material is that it really ages so beautifully. I actually love it when it's aged and you get all of these little green mosses and plants growing in it, and it has so much character. And really, by putting in this wonderful corallina floor that unifies this space, I created an outdoor room. I split my time between London and this home in Miami. I spend probably most of my time in London, and probably about 1/3 of my time is traveling. We have projects in Mexico, in Colorado, in Spain, in London, in Switzerland. I keep myself busy. Let's head back inside and you can see how we brought the feeling of outdoors in. So this is what we call a Florida room. It's a family room, television room, just general hangout room. In my house, it's called the kids' room. It's the kid-friendly room where all of the fabrics are pretty durable and it's cozy and it's great for watching television and movies. During Christmas, I set up a kids' Christmas tree in here. So I love that the kids in my life love to come into the house and say, can we go to the kids' room? It's also the kids' room because I put a lot of animals in here. I have a bronze dinosaur, a rhinoceros, and some of the artwork has great little animal figures as well. And as always, in my rooms, there are lots of interesting works of art that I've bought over the years from different artists, from Bedia to a wonderful artist called Lidia Rubio. And I particularly love this wonderful, wonderful bell that I bought in Design Miami a few years ago. It's from the Frank Lloyd Wright School of Design, and I just think this incredible patinaed copper is the perfect color tone in my house. This is probably the most casual room in the house. Again, I just thought this was an easy place for hanging out, for watching television. I love the playful cactus lamps. I think they talk a little bit about the relaxed nature of this room. It's just cozy, easy, with beautiful textures, but it's not very precious, which is nice. Now this room, the Florida room, is part of what was originally the caretaker's cottage. And what I've created is a little guest suite. So when I have guests, they stay in the bedroom next door, which I'll show you. But of course, this room is also their television, relaxing room. And so my guests and I can have separate spaces for total privacy. So of course, with these old houses, you work with the quirks and you find charm in them. This vestibule is right off the dining room, and I painted it this very deep shade of bottle green because I thought it was the perfect foil to the dining room. And this is that caretaker's cottage that is now the guest suite with a Florida room, a bathroom, and then the bedroom. And I really maximized the green in these rooms. This particular guest room, which I absolutely love, has this wonderful soft green wallpaper, and I think this might just be my favorite fabric in the whole house. It's a Zac and Fox in all of these wonderful shades of green, and then all of the cushions, which are a bit of a signature in our projects, to use mismatching patterns and hopefully find rhythm in connecting different styles but within the same color. So this is a cozy guest room, which I think definitely feels like you've brought the outdoors of South Florida inside. I think it's so important to make your guests feel at home when they're coming over to stay. I always try and make sure that I've slept in the room, that I've tested the linens, that I've tested the quality of the bed, that I make sure there's enough lighting in the room. I put a little desk because I know these days people like to work in their rooms when they're traveling, so I make sure that's all comfortable for anything that my guests can do. Obviously, we always have a jug of water, lots of freshly laundered towels, and just climate control. So this whole side of the house has its own air conditioning so that my guests can feel at home to have whatever temperature they're happy with. So from the guest room, I'd love to show you the guest bathroom because it's another symphony of green. I had the most incredible tiles custom made in Portugal. We sent them all of these color swatches so that they would get the perfect shade of green. And you can see in here. I love working with dark colors, and I think there's something really wonderful about the contrast between a dark room followed by a light room. It's something that I've always liked to play with in my career, and I just thought this bathroom with these brilliantly emerald green tiles and the wonderful green marble on the floor and on the vanity, I just thought a dark green wall would look incredible. I think people are scared of dark colors, and ironically, every time I do a dark color room, it ends up being somebody's favorite. So as long as you have the right foil, bit of wonderful artwork and beautiful accessories that keep it from feeling oppressive, a dark room can be the most glamorous and cozy place that you can be. I'm inspired by so many things. I think I find inspiration every day and everywhere in nature, in the colors in nature, when I travel, in art and architecture. But the inspiration for this house was very much that it be a family house. And it's a house where I want all of my friends and family to come. I entertain all the time. I host kids' parties, grown-up parties, cocktail parties, you name it. It's really a home for living. Let's go see the rest of the house. So on the other side of the entrance hall is the kitchen. Come and have a look. So the kitchen is a very big space in this house. It's the previous owners had converted the original dining room, butler's pantry, and kitchen into this very large space, and actually it works really, really well. I'm a huge fan of kitchens that don't feel like a kitchen, that don't feel industrial, but actually feel like another room that happens to be a kitchen. So when I designed the kitchen for my house, instead of having upper height cabinets, I put these wonderful brass shelves where I could showcase more of my personal art collection. All of the accessories that you see on the counters are ceramics, marble pieces, pieces that I've collected over a number of years on my travels. And I think it just creates this really cozy room that happens to be a kitchen. So I love, as I've said, I love collecting pieces when I travel. I have been known many times to have to buy a suitcase or a duffel bag to bring all of the extra pieces that I've bought while I'm traveling. This is a recent find. I've been working on a project in Los Cabos in Mexico, and I went to see this wonderful ceramic school. And this piece is by one of the artisans there, and I just think it has such cool texture and color glazes. So it's a lot of fun, and I think there's a nice dialogue between this work of art and the feel of the ceramic here. These are wonderful woven baskets that I brought from London, from a great gallery that I've worked with for many years called The New Craftsman. And then this area over here, because I had so much space in the kitchen, I have this enormous 16-foot island and room for 6 to have dinner or breakfast here. I thought what I really needed on this side of the house was a cocktail area. This is my cocktail lounge area, and lots of fun evenings, chatting with friends and having a good time in this area. My dog and my mom's dog also love sitting on this sofa, which we love. So in the kitchen, one of my favorite pieces of furniture is the bar cabinet. And I brought this with me from London, and what I love is inviting my guests to come and choose their favorite glass and make their favorite cocktail. And here you can see a collection of pieces, like all of this glassware has come either from Venice. These were my grandmother's, these belong to my parents. They're all just really special. And I think all of those little touches, all of those different pieces that you've bought over the years, that you bought on a trip or on a beach in Mexico, which I've done, and didn't know what to do, you can find a home in a bar cabinet and display it beautifully and have a fun activity for your guests when they come over. So one of the main features in this kitchen is this 16 by 4 foot island. It's just enormous. And it's only 2 pieces of stone. It's this wonderful Spanish soapstone with this leathered finish that I loved. It took 20 men to get each of the 2 pieces through the doors. I don't think they were very happy that day. But the result is this wonderful island. I'm not a fan of open kitchens. Which is contrary to what a lot of designers love. I actually like quite formal, entertaining. But because this kitchen was open when I bought it, I had to find the best way of making it work. And I think by making it feel like a room with an extension of the art collection, an extension of the accessories and all the other pieces, it works really well. So as you'll see throughout the house, all of the flower arrangements in the house are Florida natives. I go out to my garden and I cut what I have. This is just some wonderful, flower from a palm leaf. These are big bananas that I buy at the juice stand on 8th Street, and then we make an awful lot of fried plantains after we use all of the centerpieces. But again, this goes back to my love of contextual design. I think floral arrangements should be contextual. I think the house would look so strange with a bunch of peonies here or old-fashioned English roses. I think the more you can continue the theme of context, the more appropriate a design feels. Now, as I mentioned, I love to cook, and unfortunately, I don't have all the time in the world that I like to cook, but when I'm here in Miami, I love using this wonderful range. It's actually one of the things that I kept from the previous owners. It was just the focal piece of the kitchen, and it works really well. I had this plaster-in hood made. It kind of has that Italianate feel that I think is appropriate to the architecture. And it's really wonderful. I mean, recently I had a dinner party, and I had a huge paella dish, and I made a caciuccio, this Italian dish where you put lots of shellfish. I think I mispronounced that, so someone will tell me if I did. But lots of shellfish and a wonderful sauce, and it's a dish that you serve in 2 courses. First the shellfish, and then you toss the sauce with pasta. So that was a big hit. I'd love to show you the powder room, which is one of my favorite rooms in the house. So this room is all about the stone. This is Amazonite, a stone that I absolutely love. And it was one of the first things I decided that I had to have in this house when I was designing it. So designed the wonderful vanity, and then found this incredible textured wallpaper, which has the same turquoise color. And I think the composition of the textured wallpaper, the Amazonite stone, the vintage Murano wall lights, I think it just works perfectly together. A home has a soul when it tells the story of its owner. And for me, it begins with telling your personal narrative. So all of the furniture, all of the art, all of the pieces that you have should be pieces that you love, pieces that you've collected over time, pieces that you buy when you travel or you find at a wonderful vintage shop or something that came from your family. And in addition to that, for me, something that's very important is that design be contextual. This is very much a design for a Florida home. I have materials like rattan and linen and raffia and all of these materials which feel very appropriate to South Florida. For me, when the interior is incongruous with the landscape and the climate of a place, it just doesn't make sense. I'd love to show you my bedroom. It is one of my favorite rooms in the house. I think that a master bedroom should be a sanctuary. It should have a warm color palette, something really soft and serene that makes you feel cocooned at the end of the day. For me, that color is blue. I love blue. It's one of my favorite colors. And you can see here I use this wonderful turquoise jute. It's from Philip Jeffries. It has a really knobbly texture. And even though the shade is quite vibrant, the application in this room, I think from the textures and from all of the other soft tonal fabrics, feels really calm and really soothing. The bedside tables I designed, they have this wonderful faux turquoise finish that I think works really well. And then just a combination of some of my favorite fabrics. This wonderful fabric on the bed, which is also by Pierre Frey, has this like little line of blue inside. You can barely see it, but it just picks up perfectly with the shades of the wallpaper. And then of course, everywhere you see different pieces of ceramic, vintage mirrors that I've had for years and repainted white for this room. So as I said, as long as you're collecting over the years, you can always find something wonderful for a little corner of the house that you didn't know you had the perfect piece for. I do feel that all rooms should have artwork, especially bedrooms. And I found these really fun little plaster molds. My sister-in-law says that they look like little thought bubbles of my dreams in the middle of the night. But they're really charming, and I do love art that has a three-dimensional quality. On this wall, you can see this wonderful vintage piece made of yarn, which I also found in a vintage store here in Florida, in Miami, and I just thought it worked perfectly to bring in that textured, warm, cozy look for a bedroom. So these works of art are really fun. They're by a local artist called Vicky Pierre, and I love the quality. I love using black as a color in design. People are scared of the color black, but I think that this artwork shows that the color black can be feminine, playful, whimsical, and just really the perfect foil for a tonal bedroom like this one. So the window treatments in this house are hugely important because it can get really sunny in South Florida. And I really love working with Robert Laweed's concept of having cross ventilation in rooms that can be ventilated even without using air conditioning, which I try and do in the winter months. But here I use these wonderful woven shades in this cocoa color, and they go all the way down. So if the light is really bright, you can have that protection from the sun, but they're also transparent enough that you can still see a hint of green. You can still see the greenery beyond, which was so important because every single one of the color schemes in this house was designed with a view to how the composition would look with a view out the windows and the amount of green that you see beyond. That's always really important when you're designing a room, to look at not just the room internally, but what the context it's sitting against and how those colors play together. And then, of course, I do love wonderful curtains. I think that they make or break a room. There's nothing worse for me than flimsy, thin, badly done curtains. And these just have this wonderful textured woven fabric, and layered with the woven blinds, they just create a really sumptuous, cozy feel for the bedroom. And on the other side of this floor is my study. Let's go have a look. So this is my study, and it's, I keep saying this, but probably one of my favorite rooms in the house. When I was first thinking of how to use this house, I had originally thought that my study would be down where the Florida room is. And my brother actually said, this is the best room in the house because it has the view all the way through the garden, and you should use that room to be the room you're going to be in the most, which is my study, my office. So it's a wonderful room. It's also doubles as a TV room, a cozy little snug. It's where I work every day. It's where I do all of my Zoom calls when I'm in Miami. And it's just a very, very, very cozy room. I'm not a great fan of carpeted rooms, but this floor had been ruined by termites. So carpet was just a quick solution when I was trying to move in. And actually, it does give it quite a cozy feel. I picked a carpet that looks like a sweater. And then, of course, a wonderful collection of books that I've been collecting for years, some of them back from my university days a long time ago. So it's nice to have a place to showcase. And then these wonderful bookshelves by my friend Tyson in London also have little animals, as you can see. So there's a little lizard over there, and there's a bird up there. So that is more of the 18 animals throughout the house that I love to task my kid visitors with photographing when they come for a visit. So these fun little pieces of furniture were used for my dolls when I was a little kid. They're Mexican, and my mom bought them in a market in Mexico. And when my parents were moving out of their house, they found them in a box. And I thought they looked so charming as little accessories on my bookshelf. I thought, what more appropriate accessory for a designer to have than, they look like little model furniture, little pieces of model furniture. And so, and of course, a collection of ceramics. I'm obsessed with ceramics, as you've gathered from the tour of this house. So lots of different pieces on the shelf. And it's always evolving and changing. I use them for floral displays, and then I move them from room to room. I think a house should always have an organic quality. You shouldn't be too rigid about what you have, and you should be moving pieces around and living every day with the ones you love best. So I love a chaise. I love them. They're so cozy. This one is comfortable for 2 people, which was important for me for my television room. This actually doubles as the sitting room for my bedroom, for the main bedroom up here on this level. So I designed this in 2-tone fabric so that it wouldn't be too oppressive all in one. And it's just super cozy. And then, of course, I have a wonderful view of the garden beyond. So when I'm painting a room, when I'm decorating a room, I really love it when the color on the walls continues onto the ceiling. Here it obviously made a lot of sense because there's a bit of a dome to the ceiling. And so I used this wonderful color, this strong green from Farrow and Ball, and painted it on the walls and on the ceiling. And again, I just think it visually elevates the ceiling heights to do that. The word home to me means comfort and glamour and family.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.